Hi, thank you so much for tuning in to B2P Relates, where we talk about all things relationships. I'm Pat Renfro, and I've had it on my heart to talk about, are you willing to change? And I want to make sure that I articulated exactly what was on my heart. We want people to change all the time. When we get in relationships, they need to change. She shouldn't be like this. He should do that. We do all that. But the real question is, am I willing to develop into the best person I can be so that when I choose to get into a significant, special relationship with someone I love or want to begin to love, I am willing to do the work I need to do. You see, this life throws so many balls our way that are difficult, challenging, hurtful, traumatic, that give us different perspectives. And we really shouldn't change for someone else. We should be willing to change for ourselves to be the best version of ourselves. And so my question to you is, can you find a way to change so that you can be a blessing to another life, so that you can be your best self? Because life will present to us enough slug, enough challenge, enough disappointments that we will just get through it, but not without damage and trauma. So if we don't believe in therapy and feedback, that what we go through, if we don't address it, impacts the other people in our lives, we're delusional. So I just want to encourage you to think through what to consider doing before you get into a committed relationship. It goes both ways. I need to work on myself and you need to work on yourself. And it's a life work. Some things you'll be working on until you die. And other things we can just address and get out of the way. And what I'll leave you with is that we're not perfect. And so I'm not trying to promote perfection in character so that you can be the perfect, ideal partner. But what I am encouraging you to do is, those stuck points, those places that have been pretty dark, that have been pretty harsh on you in your life. And they've taken some matter of toll. It could be that you didn't have both parents. It could be that one of your parents was abusive. It could be that you were in prior relationships where you didn't really like yourself, and as a result, you accepted anything and you got anything. You got abused mentally or physically or both. You were abandoned, you were cheated on, lied to. Any of those things form another onion layer of who we become. And if we are not careful, we will take that same trauma into the next relationship and then wonder why it didn't work out. And if you look back at your relationships, the broken ones, the ones that ended, in many cases, you may see a pattern if you were to go back and say, well, let me look at the last 3 relationships I had. And maybe I only had 3 in my whole life. Well, look at all 3 of them and look at how they ended and see how much of that was you. Because usually when we're hurt, we think the other person did this to me or that to me. But what condition did you move into? So if you have to get therapy, therapy is not a bad word. Therapy can be very helpful. If you don't have many friends in your life, you don't need a lot, but you need the real ones. And if you don't have any, then begin to look at ways that you can get out there and get some. But the bottom line is, please, I beg of you, try to remember, and maybe you never thought of it this way, that if you're not willing to be your best self, if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to work through the trauma and the issues you've been through in your life, and yet you are willing to get in a relationship, that means whatever you throw up your partner's going to have their clothes wet too. Just had to put it that way because that's the reality. Do the work before you get into it so that once you get into it, you can be healthy and whole and you all can be partners and you can enjoy each other. Now, don't get me wrong. I say this almost every week. They're going to get on your nerves. You're going to have differences. But look at the strongholds. Look at those areas that are repeat performances. Look at those things like anger management or depression or self-esteem or lack of money management, and just figure it out because you're taking that into the next relationship. And if the last relationship failed, that same person, Pat, showed up in that other relationship, Pat's going to show up the same way in the next relationship unless Pat changes. And Pat may not be able to do it on her own. She may need Weight Watchers. She may need a counselor. She may need to get in a support group. She may need some friends that she gives permission to give her the truth. But we got to be willing to look at ourselves and say, ooh, I need to deal with that before I get into anything else. And if you're the recipient, hopefully you've done your work as well, but you all have to come up with some agreements about what's acceptable and what's non-negotiable. Deal breakers. Think about what the deal breakers are. Because when you get through with those things, what's acceptable, what's the deal breaker, and then what's non-negotiable, then you have to stop and say, okay, what flaws can I accept and live with? Because no matter what work you do, no matter how much you work through your stuff, no how much counseling or therapy you get, or how many good, truth-telling, loving friends you get in your life, you're still going to be imperfect. And so we have to have flexibility, we have to have patience, we have to have love to get through that relationship. That's all I have for you. Hit that subscribe button, tap that bell so that when I post on Fridays, you can get the notification. And pass this on to some friends that you got that are single now. They're not encumbered with a relationship, but you know they're hoping for one day. And let them listen to it and think about it and say, are you doing this? Are you willing to change? All right. Take care.